to Rise Awakenings, part of the Rise Radio Network where advice meets action.
We're here to spark your growth, lift your spirit, and help you crush your potential.
Rise Awakening, hear the call. Through the static, we break the wall. Your station, your voice where dreams awaken in time. Rise Awakening, now is the time.
Rise Awakenings, let's rise together.
Laid bare shadows collide, hidden truths in the tide, a spark in the dark, it glows. Illuminate, illuminate, through the fog the stars awake. Illuminate, illuminate, the path you seek, the steps you take. Thunder rolls, whispers rise, the deck unfolds, no disguise. Light cracks the veil, it shows what's unseen now inside, what's unknown now ignite. Illuminate, illuminate, through the fog the stars awake. Illuminate, illuminate, the path you seek, the steps you take. Awakening calling, through silence falling, wisdom crawls through the night.
Oh my goodness. I'm here. Oh, this is going to be an interesting day. I can't hear the music when it plays. I cannot see the chat. I don't know if I'm actually on because the Wi-Fi has been a mess all morning. So we're just going to go with the flow, and hopefully somebody will let me know at some point if I'm actually being heard or not, because I don't even know. All right. Anyway, so happy Friday. I'm glad you guys are here. Whether you're here in the live chat for the live show or in the podcast later, welcome. I am Carrie, otherwise known as Lunaria. What we do here on the show is a Celtic cross reading that we go into extra detail on every card as to what they mean, what they could mean in the reverse, and what they what the advice is for the placement that they fall in. And then after that, we pick one card every week that we go into really extreme detail about. We could call that our homework card for the week. It generally has something to do with what we might need to work on that week. At the end of the show, if anyone is in the live chat would like to have a card drawn from the shadow work, I will do that. And without further ado, I suppose we should get started. Awesome reading today. I love how this one comes out in the end. So, all right, guys, here we go. Well, hope I'm actually on air. All right, so we are starting off today in the present situation with the lovers. In traditional tarot imagery, the lovers depicts two figures standing vulnerable before one another beneath divine blessing. Often, an angel hovers overhead, representing higher consciousness and sacred witnessing. The imagery speaks to union, choice, and vulnerability. It's alignment and sacred duality. This card is often misunderstood as simply romance, but at its core, it represents alignment through conscious choice. You are currently at a crossroads involving a relationship, value, integrity, emotional truth, and internal harmony. This can absolutely involve romantic energy, but it also points toward choosing authenticity over performance, choosing healing over familiarity, and choosing yourself without abandoning others. The lover asks, are your choices reflecting your soul or your wounds? This card can surface when someone is learning the difference between love and attachment, chemistry and compatibility, loyalty and self-assurance, and caretaking and connection. Those with abandonment wounds often mistake emotional intensity for soul connection. Those with rejection trauma may overcompromise to preserve closeness. The shadow side can contain codependency, indecision, seeking external validation, losing identity inside relationships, and romanticizing unhealthy dynamics. Choose from alignment, not desperation. Not every connection is meant to be permanent simply because it felt profound. All right, up next we have on our crossing energy, the devil. The devil card traditionally shows chained figures beneath a horned entity, but importantly, are loose. They could leave. This card symbolizes attachment, temptation, fear, addiction, illusionary powerlessness, and cycles that feed on shame. This is the core conflict of the reading. The spread asks, is this love or is this attachment disguised as love? The devil crossing the lovers often indicates toxic relationship patterns, fear of being alone, trauma bonding, control dynamics, obsession, emotional dependency, and repeating cycles despite awareness. There may be a struggle between authentic connection and familiar dysfunction. This pairing frequently appears for people healing from narcissistic abuse, childhood emotional conditioning, religious guilt, shame based on identity programming, and cycles of emotional unavailability. The nervous system can become addicted to emotional unpredictability because chaos once felt like home. The shadow side can show manipulation, escapism, addiction, possessiveness, and staying chained to what hurts because it's familiar. Freedom begins the moment you stop romanticizing your cage. All right. Up next in our foundation or our subconscious, we have the Hierophant. The Hierophant sits between pillars as a spiritual authority figure. Followers kneel before him seeking guidance and structure. This card represents tradition, spiritual system, conditioning, institution, teaching, and sacred wisdom. At the root of this reading lies conditioning. You may be confronting beliefs inherited from family, cultural expectations, religious teachings, learned relationship dynamics, and rules about worthiness, gender, success, or love. This card suggests your subconscious has been shaped heavily by external frameworks. This often appears when someone learned love must be earned, obedience equals safety, emotion equals maturity. Authority figures define truth. You may now be questioning long-held structures. The shadow side can be dogmatism, fear of individuality, outsourcing personal wisdom, and staying small to remain accepted. Tradition is useful until it suffocates authenticity. All right, up next in our recent past, we have the Knight of Swords. The Knight charges forward at full speed, sword raised, horse wild with momentum. This is fast communication, mental intensity, sudden action, conflict urgency, and truth delivery. Recently, things moved quickly. There may have been arguments, abrupt realizations, rapid changes, confrontational conversations, and impulsive decisions. Someone may have acted before thinking. Hypervigilance can create fight mode, thinking react first, defend first, and analyze later. This card can indicate survival based urgency. The shadow side is aggression, harsh, recklessness, and anxiety driven action. Not every truth needs to arrive like a lightning strike. All right. Conscious goal. All right. My head itches. In your conscious goal, we have the Nine of Cups. A figure sits proudly before 9 golden cups, symbolizing emotional fulfillment and personal satisfaction. This is often called the wish card, so it's not so ironic that it appears in your conscious goal. Consciously, you want peace, emotional contentment, stability, satisfaction, and relief. After heavy emotional experiences, your soul is craving ease. People who survive chronic instability often fantasize about reaching a place where nothing hurts anymore. But healing isn't emotional numbness, it's emotional regulation. The shadow side can be escapism, emotional complacency, overindulgence, and seeking comfort over growth. True fulfillment comes from emotional honesty, not emotional avoidance. All right. In your near future, we have the Seven of Wands. A lone figure stands on higher ground, defending themselves against opposing wands below. This is boundaries, defense, courage, conviction, and standing your ground. It's coming in your near future because you are entering a phase requiring boundaries, self-protection, conviction, and defending your growth. People may challenge your new standards because your healing disrupts familiar dynamics. The traumatic aspect of this is that those raised to people please often feel guilt when asserting boundaries. The nervous system may interpret conflict as danger even when the boundary is healthy. The shadow side can be defensiveness, isolation, and exhaustion from constant vigilance. You do not have to explain every boundary to people committed to misunderstanding it. All right. In our self-perception, we have the Four of Pentacles reversed. Traditionally, the upright card clings tightly to coins. Reversed, the grip loosens. This card reversed represents releasing control, fear around security, vulnerability, and letting go. It's here because you may feel emotionally exposed right now. Part of you wants freedom. Another part fears what happens if you stop controlling everything. The trauma aspect can be control is often a trauma response. People cling tightly because unpredictability once hurt them deeply. This reversal suggests a desire to trust, fear of surrender, and financial emotional insecurity themes. The shadow side can be overgiving, financial instability, emotional leakage, and fear-based withholding, alternating with overexposure. Security built entirely on control eventually becomes another prison. All right. In our external environment, we have wands. The page stands inspired, holding a wand with curiosity and excitement. This is new beginnings, creative sparks, exploration, messages, and youthful fire. The environment around you is shifting toward inspiration, creativity, new opportunities, new people, and new passions. Someone around you may embody page energy, enthusiastic, restless, exciting, and immature but genuine. Trauma aspects can be that after prolonged heaviness, joy can feel suspicious. The page asks you to reconnect with curiosity without demanding certainty. The shadow side can be inconsistency, impulsiveness, and naivete, and starting but not finishing. You don't need a 5-year plan just to follow a spark. All right. In your hopes and fears, we have the Six of Wands. The Six of Swords. Sorry. A boat moves across water towards calmer shores. This card symbolizes tradition, healing, leaving pain behind, and emotional movement. You deeply want peace, but may fear what leaving behind familiar suffering requires. Healing can feel lonely because old identities must die too. The trauma aspect is that most people unconsciously fear healing because pain became identity, chaos became familiar, and survival became personality. The shadow side is emotional avoidance, running instead of healing and carrying unresolved baggage into new chapters. Moving forward does not erase the past, it simply stops letting it steer the boat. All right, in our outcome, we have the King of Wands. The King of Wands sits confidently with mastery of fire energy, vision, leadership, passion, confidence, charisma, and purpose. Unlike the impulsive page or reactive knight, this king acts with mature direction. Why this is in the outcome is because this spread ends in reclaimed sovereignty. The journey appears to move from attachment to empowerment, from seeking validation to embodying authority. You are stepping into leadership, confidence, personal power, creative mastery, and bold authenticity. Trauma can suppress identity and self-trust. The King of Wands is someone who no longer asks permission to exist fully. The shadow side can be ego, domination, pride, and control disguised as leadership. Lead your life instead of negotiating with your future. Some of the major spiritual patterns and this reading. Sorry, I got a sore throat and I'm like wanting to choke again, like I was a couple weeks ago. I'm like, why is my throat chakra messing up again all of a sudden? All right, this reading shows first in the beginning a lot of strong relationship karma. The Devil is one of tarot's clearest indicators of an examining attachment patterns, trauma bonds, desire, and emotional dependency, and freedom within connection. This is transformational relationship energy. Then we have healing conditioning in the hierarchy beneath that. It suggests old teachings are being questioned. Generational patterns are surfacing. You are redefining your beliefs. You're not just changing behavior, you're changing programming. Why am I so itchy? Good grief. I don't know what's going on. I feel like I'm having an allergic reaction or something, and I'm like itching. I can't talk. Anyway. All right. There is fire energy rising with the Page of Wands and the King of Wands. It indicates evolution from inspiration to mastery. This is creative, entrepreneurial, and passionate energy. You're becoming more visible, expressive, and self-directed. This whole spread tells us standing at a threshold between old survival patterns and authentic empowerment. The reading begins with the lovers, a choice about alignment, connection, and truth. But crossing it is the devil, revealing how fear, conditioning, attachment, and unhealthy cycles may complicate that choice. Deep beneath everything is the Hierophant, showing that many of these struggles are learned through upbringing, culture, and inherited beliefs. The recent past carried fast-moving mental energy and confrontation through the Knight of Swords, while your conscious mind longs for emotional peace and fulfillment with the Nine of Cups. The future requires boundaries through the Seven of Wands. You are learning to protect your growth without apologizing for it. Internally, the reverse Four of Pentacles shows you loosening your grip on control and survival-based security patterns. Externally, the Page of Wands brings fresh energy, curiosity, and possibility. Meanwhile, the Six of Swords reveals both the hope and the fear involved in moving toward healing. Ultimately, the outcome is the King of Wands, a figure of mature confidence, passion, and self-directed power. This is not the ending of someone defeated by their wounds. This is the emergence of someone who finally understands they were never meant to remain chained to them. All right, and that is the end of the reading itself. I don't know why I am so itchy and everything's tickling me. It's tickling me. Okay. Try and get through this, man. All right, so our homework card for the week and what we are focusing on, it's so fitting for everything right now. The High Priestess, sometimes called the Keeper of the Hidden Waters. All right, so the High Priestess is one of the most misunderstood cards in the entire tarot because people often reduce her to just intuition and stop there. But this card is not simply about having a gut feeling. The High Priestess is about sacred knowing. She is the space between worlds, the silence before revelation, the voice inside you that speaks quietly because it already knows truth does not need to shout. She is mystery, hidden knowledge, psychic awareness, emotional depth, spiritual initiation, secrets, divine feminism, energy, observation, subconscious wisdom, and the power that comes from understanding instead of reacting. Where the magician says, I create reality, the high priestess says, I understand reality. And that difference matters immensely. Every detail in this card is intentional and layered with meaning. The black and white pillars represent duality, light and shadow, masculine and feminine, conscious and subconscious, action and still and intuition. The high priestess sits between them because she masters balance between opposites. She does not choose one side, she understands both. This is why this card often appears when someone is navigating moral gray areas, learning emotional balance, integrating shadow work. I can say that word. Discovering truth between illusion and outgrowing black and white thinking. Trauma often pushes people into extremes. Hypervigilance or denial, isolation or overdependence, or emotional shutdown or emotional flooding. The high priestess says healing happens in the middle space. Behind her, a veil decorated with pomegranates and palm trees. The veil symbolizes hidden truths, the subconscious mind, spiritual mysteries, and what cannot yet fully be seen. The high priestess guards the threshold between the conscious and unconscious mind. You are not supposed to force your way through the veil. You are supposed to become ready to understand what is behind it. This card often appears when answers are still unfolding. Something hidden is affecting the situation. Timing matters. Information is incomplete, and spirit is asking for observation before action. Sometimes the veil represents secrets, emotional suppression, unspoken tension, things someone refuses to admit, and inner truths the querent is avoiding. The moon at her feet represents intuition, emotional cycles, psychic sensitivity, feminine mysteries, hidden fears, and the unconscious. The moon changes phases constantly, reminding us that not everything is meant to remain visible all the time. This card is deeply connected to dreams, synchronicities, spiritual downloads, emotional undercurrents, and energetic sensitivity. People pulling this card repeatedly are often in periods where their intuition is sharpening, their subconscious is trying to communicate, their nervous system notices everything, and their body knows the truth before their mind accepts it. In many decks, she holds a scroll, partially hidden beneath her robe. It symbolizes sacred wisdom, esoteric knowledge, spiritual laws, hidden truths, and wisdom earned through experience. The scroll being partially concealed matters. The message is some knowledge must be revealed gradually. This is not a card of instant gratification. This is initiation. The blue robes and water symbolize emotional depth, spiritual wisdom, calm awareness, and intuitive perception. The water behind her represents the subconscious mind, vast, emotional, powerful, and impossible to fully control. The high priestess teaches you do not conquer emotion to it. At her highest vibration, the high priestess represents intuition, wisdom, emotional inner knowing, spiritual awakening, and silence. This card asks, what do you already know deep down? What truth keeps whispering to you? What are you sensing beneath the words? What are you ignoring because logic feels safer? This is the card of reading energy accurately, understanding subtext, detecting lies, feeling shifts before they happen, recognizing patterns, and spiritual maturity. The shadow side of the high priestess can be is that it can become emotionally withdrawn, passive behavior, secretiveness, avoidance disguised as an intuition, isolation, fear of vulnerability, suppressed emotion, or dissociation. Sometimes people behind spirituality because they fear direct confrontation. The shadow high priestess may observe instead of participate, analyze instead of feel, stay silent when communication is needed, romanticize mystery instead of seeking clarity, and use why do I keep seeing initiation? Intuition to justify fear. Trauma can heavily influence this card. This card often appears in people who learned early that speaking was unsafe. Emotions had consequences, silence was protection, observation kept them safe, and reading the room became survival. This creates extremely intuitive adults, but sometimes their intuition is mixed with anxiety, hypervigilance, fear based pattern recognition, and emotional suppression. The high priestess asks, are you truly sensing truth or are you anticipating danger? That distinction is enormous. High priest in a relationship, the high priestess is layered and complex. It can represent deep soul connection, unspoken emotional bonds, psychic connection, emotional mystery, hidden feelings, emotional restraint, sacred intimacy, and secrets. In a positive relationship, it can represent emotional depth, strong intuitive bond, quiet understanding, respect for emotional space, and deep spiritual connection. Shadow manifestation, however, is emotional unavailability, lack of communication, hidden agendas, withholding, confusion, and passive avoidance. Sometimes this card means someone knows more than they are saying. Other times, someone is disconnected from their own emotional truth. The High Priestess is one of the strongest spiritual awakening cards in the tarot. It often appears during shadow work, heightened intuition, psychic development, spiritual initiation, dream work, energy sensitivity, emotional healing, and solitude phases. But unlikely flashy spirit, unlike flat, I am sorry, I don't know what is tickling my face right now. I swear I'm having an allergic reaction to something and it's just making me itch like crazy. Anyway, the High Priestess, unlike the other flashy spiritual cards, is quiet. She doesn't need spectacle. She values depth over performance. She reminds people that spirituality is not about appearing enlightened. It is about becoming honest. The High Priestess in the career world and work readings can indicate strategic observation, research, confidentiality, behind the scenes influence, emotional intelligence and leadership, counseling, healing professions, spiritual work, and creative incubation. It can also warn that of hidden workplace politics, incomplete information, lack of transparency, and trusting appearances too quickly. This is the wait and observe card more than the impulsive action card. The High Priestess is the number 2 card. 2 represents duality, partnership, balance, reflection, receptivity. In the number 1 card, the Magician, that's the initiation. The High Priestess, number 2, is the receiver. She teaches not all power is loud. Some power comes from stillness, patience, listening, emotional awareness, timing, and discernment. The High Priestess is governed by the moon, which governs emotion, intuition, cycles, dreams, memory, and sensitivity. This explains why the High Priestess energy can feel mysterious, emotional, deeply perceptive, and difficult to fully explain logically. appears, the advice is to listen before reacting. Not every situation requires immediate action. Trust subtle signals. Pay attention to patterns, dreams, repeated feelings, body sensations, and energy shifts. Stop seeking external validation. You already know more than you think, but also verify intuition with grounded reality. Intuition without grounding becomes paranoia. Logic without intuition becomes disconnection. The high priestess seeks balance. She asks, what truths are you avoiding? Are you listening to yourself? Are you confusing silence with peace? Are you observing wisely or highly emotionally? And what is waiting beneath the surface? The deeper soul lesson of this card is one of the hardest lessons in spiritual growth. Not everything is meant to be forced into clarity immediately. Some truths unfold slowly. The healing happens quietly. Some wisdom arrives through stillness instead of struggle. She teaches emotional maturity through observation, patience, discernment, and self-trust. The world often glorifies loud power. The high priestess reminds us quiet power changes lives too. In summary, the high priestess is intuition, hidden truth, spiritual wisdom, emotional depth, sacred silence, inner knowing. Her light side is wisdom, perception, and spiritual clarity. Her shadow side is secrecy, emotional withdrawal, avoidance, and fear disguised as intuition. She often appears during periods of awakening, emotional healing, hidden transformation. And at the core, the high priestess asks you to trust the wisdom beneath the noise. Not every answer arrives through actions. Some answers arrive when you finally become still enough to hear yourself. I really like that reading. It gave me goosebumps today. I loved it. I don't know if you guys are commenting at all. I have no chat. I have, like I said, I can't even tell if I'm on air right now. I can see, though, that there are 7 or so people watching live, so I'm guessing that means there is a chat going on, whatever. I wish I could see it because I know that I know a lot of you like really appreciated that reading the way I did, especially the end of it. Anyway, so I can't take requests for cards. I'm just going to give one. Well, first of all, I wanted to talk about actually, you know what? I honestly think I'm having an allergic reaction to something. So I'm actually going to go ahead and give you a card. And I'm going to give a card to the group, and I'm going to get off of here early today because my face feels like it's on fire. It itches. My throat hurts. This is weird. Anyway, so I am going to give a shadow work to the entire group, and now everybody's telling me, texting me, whatever. But like I said, I'm feeling weird. I'm going to go. So, but I'm just going to give one to everybody. So, deep, intimate connections are spaces ripe for potential with shadow work discoveries. The shadow often manifests as feeling triggered. Strong emotional reactions can provide great insight into deep-seated fears in relationships. Pretty much everything we just kind of talked about. Which behaviors from a potential partner, are triggering for you? What fears point to? Well, that pretty much summed up exactly what we were talking about. So, all right, y'all. I apologize. I did have something I was gonna say. This is terrible. I'm actually going to read this. All right, we have some exciting news. We added to our website a way to help support the network that doesn't require dedicating to yet another subscription. So those of you that don't want to dedicate to that subscription and put in, that yearly or monthly, or I don't even know how all of it works. So, but this can be like a one-time donation via Cash App or Venmo, and the links are like right on the page. So that will, instead of, worrying about investing, long term in something, if you're not sure you can afford or whatever, if you just want to make a one-time donation or something, you can do it through there. The link is on the website. I apologize. This is making me feel so scattered right now. I don't know if there's any shows on the weekend right now. Okay. I'm literally, this is making me crazy. I'm going to go. I love y'all. I apologize. I will see you on Monday, messengers, and in the morning for the bloom. I'm going to go. Bye-bye. I love you.
What's unseen now inside? What's unknown?